All right, I'm here for another matchup guide. I think this is a more common one also online. This deck kind of disappeared for a little bit, but it will be always there. I'm talking about the Death and Taxes matchup, and well, spoiler alert, it's a very hard matchup, and Skycleave apparition made the matchup even harder for the Delver deck. So I think I read an article by Rich Cully where he said you have to be aggressive in the matchup, and I think this is a good approach. But expect a fail rate. I don't know. When you see a Death and Taxes list, I think there is basically not a single card which is bad against the other. So as long as they have a reasonable hand and sequence reasonable, it is very tough to beat them. So let's see how you can win. Sometimes it all depends basically on the Death and Taxes draws, because they don't have, I mean, they have 12 one-drops, but Plow is one and will be annoying. Mother of Runes can be annoying, but the big issue is Aether Vial, and when a turn 1 Aether Vial comes down, you can counter it, the game probably is very hard to win. You can Alk the Aether Vial, but this is only profitable when you can prevent you losing your Oko afterwards. So keep that in mind to balance the board state kind of. So, and this matchup is also heavily relying on being on the play or on the draw, because your days will set you back on the draw a lot, but on the play it can be pretty good. So let's see. Basically, this is tricky because you have to keep the board clear, but you only have a limited amount of lightning bolts. So ideal start would be having an early Delver or an early Arcanist and protect them for a while. So maybe let them cross the finish line. Young Pyromancer is so because a lot of their creatures have 2 toughness, and they can block the elemental tokens very easy. And for a young Pyromancer to work, you need to clear their board pretty good. Other than that, it won't matter that much. Also, if they remove your early threats and you keep theirs in check, Oko can win. But as I said, you need to have a decent board for Oko to work. Yeah, so this is a matchup I think you have to practice for a little bit. So what happens after sideboarding? You have the sweepers. This one is good against the 2 toughness creatures and is an answer to Sanctum Prelate. This one I'm a bit unsure about if it's enough, but I think so, because they have the Mother of Runes, they have the Spirit of the Labyrinth, which is also very troublesome. Also be always aware of what could happen when they have the Aether Vial. This can kill Flicker Wisp. I think Sylvan Library is a bit of a trap, because their combat damage matters, and you getting low on life is troublesome, because they have a very strong late game, and I think it's better to try to tempo them out. somehow, which is very hard to do, but I think that's your weapon of choice. You have these other two cards for dealing with the equipments, and the braid can also deal with a creature. And I think Clothis is not good enough because it's not a safe threat because there are 4 Skycleave or 3 Skycleave apparitions. And they also bring in Rest in Peace, probably, maybe 2 copies or so. So, and it's a very slow threat, so I won't recommend it. So these 4 cards come in. And now it depends on the player or on the draw. On the draw, I think Force of Negation comes out either way, but because I mean you can answer the turn 1 wild with it, but you get 2 answers for it. And other than wild, there are not great targets because Swords to Plowshares, they can play in a way that Force can counter it. So being on the draw, I think is the thing I would do first. So Force comes out. I think 2 days at least on the draw. And now it's a little bit of a debate going on. So you need early interaction, right? And flooding on cantrips can be bad on the draw because you need to do something in the early turns. And plus, they have their Richard imports, so this makes cantripping also hard. So either you put out a preordain or another days, I think. And I'm not sure which one is the better choice, but I would lean towards the preordain, honestly. Because you can play on 2 lands for a while. If you don't have an Oko right away, you're fine dazing on turn 2 because then you have 2 mana again, and go from there. And it has its targets. If they don't have wild, the 3 drops are scary, and yeah, daze whatever hurts you. And most of the Death and Taxes deck will hurt you. So I think this is what I would do. On the play, things change a bit. Force of Will is kind of a necessary evil, but I think I would want 3 on the play, I think, and put in another daze. Whoops. Put in the daze because it becomes a little bit stronger. And having Force is good in the matchup, but not always, because you will play a lot of 1-for-1, like remove the creatures, the equipments or creatures. This can 2-for-1, but a little bit unlikely corner case situations. So you will trade, they have their removal, and it's an uphill battle. So I think cutting 1 Force on the play is correct, and put in a daze, because dazing, when you have your turn 2, you can play a threat and daze their turn 2 play, and now have 2 mana for the next turn again, which is good. I wouldn't go below 3 Forces, I think. Yeah, so practice the matchup. It's hard. Be aggressive and hope a creature finishes the game for you. So this was the matchup guide for Death and Taxes. See you around.